Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ramu Damodran with United Nations Academic Impact. Thank you so much for joining us. While you're settling in, and please do mute your microphones and cameras when you're not speaking. While we're settling in, we thought we would begin with a piece of music suitable for World Environment Day. We're privileged to have with us the internationally renowned Korean baritone, Claudio Chong, who will be singing a melody by Alessandro Scarlatti. This melody is about a river, and I think that unites all our speakers today. It is about the river Ganges in India, the country where Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Madam Ban began their diplomatic career. The major river in the Asia-Pacific region, whose Economic Commission head, Ms. Adithabhana, we have with us today. The river, which is, in a sense, the focus of the India Water Foundation, whose director, Dr. Arvind Kumar, we have with us today. And of course, our friends from the Association of Korean Universities in support of the UN Academic Impact, who also, in a sense, are related to this river, because I will always remember what the founder of UNAI Korea, Dr. Kim Yong-gil, said. Education is like a river. You can sail on it, you can swim in it as long as you wish, you can get into it whenever you wish, you can get out of it whenever you wish. So with that, let me invite Maestro Claudio Chong to share with us Il Sole del Gange. Maestro.
Thank you. There is Julie. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, Maestro, and please take this virtual applause from all of us in this virtual room. It's wonderful to see you and to see the lovely landscape of Seoul through your windows and the river in my own country that you brought so much to life. Thank you, sir. It's now my privilege to introduce our first speaker, and I'm probably going to get a little sentimental at this point because I think without Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, we would not have had the United Nations Academic Impact. I still remember it was 2008 and Secretary General Ban had come to the law school in New York University to speak, and after he spoke, we gathered in a small reception room and I suddenly found myself next to the Secretary General. And at times like that, you're always a little short for conversation. But he asked me what I did. I told him which department I was in. And I said, you know, we do so much with universities. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had an alliance of universities working with the United Nations? And immediately, Mr. Barnes said, go ahead, work on it. Come back to me with an idea. And sure enough, a year later, we went in with the idea. He was enthusiastic about it. And in November 2010, he launched the United Nations Academic Impact. So that's the story of his association with us. But beyond that, with the subject of today's conversation, every facet of the global struggle against climate change and preserving the environment has had a reflection in the years 2007 to 2016, which marked the two tenures of Secretary General Ban, whether it is the Rio +20 conference, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the Paris Accord, all of these have had his imprint. And summarizing it all has been this one thought that he left the United Nations and the world with: we cannot have a plan B because there is no planet B. So with that, it's my honor to invite Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to share his reflections with us.
Thank you, Mr. Ramu Damodaran. It's a great pleasure to see you all again. Your very kind introduction brought me back to good and happy days with the passion and compassion to work for better and quality education. And I really thank you very much for your very kind introduction. Under Secretary General Armida Salcia Alistabana, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, Excellencies and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, I'd like to also thank baritone Claudia Zhang for your very wonderful music, and your music has really made all participants really feel rejuvenated. Thank you very much. I hope you will continue to send the good music for peace and harmony. Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to join today's United Nations Academic Impact online dialogue on rethinking our climate as part of the United Nations 75th anniversary initiative, UN75. And it's my privilege to deliver these remarks at such a timely juncture as we strive to expand partnership to catalyze climate action from all segments of society. I'm confident that the insight shared today among many participants will go a long way in bringing this overarching goal to fruition. Ladies and gentlemen, in this era of uncertainty caused by pandemic and political division, and when multilateralism is falling apart, I believe that uniting in partnership to achieve the United Nations global goals can simultaneously bring us together and illuminate the path to greater sustainability, security, and prosperity. The Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development are two of the most significant achievements the United Nations has ever achieved during its 70th existence at that time, by 2015, and two of my personally very proudest moments and achievement working together with the member states. They provide humanity and our planet with a collaborative blueprint to ensure the future we want. But to reach this future, one that is inclusive, sustainable, and equitable for all, we must redouble our collective efforts. SDG 17 highlights the prominent role that academic institutions, alongside the civil society, the private sector, and others should play to help achieve the global agenda. And the role of universities to this end is now more than ever important as our climate spins deeper into calamity, alongside the global backdrop of pandemic, economic crisis, and increasing nationalism. Universities are essential partners in the international community's battle to combat the climate change. They serve as launch pads for new ideas and incubators to forge innovative solutions to the great problems that we face now. But we need more urgent and bold measures to tackle the climate emergency. And I believe that academic institutions are particularly well positioned to take the lead in helping the United Nations to rethink climate-related issues and responses. This understanding led me to launch UNAI in 2010 to align scholars, educators, researchers, and students with the United Nations to actively contribute to the realization of international climate change and sustainable development efforts. Partnership initiatives like this facilitate the transfer of knowledge, advance critical research, and help instill a driving sense of sustainability in the global citizens of both today and tomorrow. But academic institutions should go further in helping the United Nations and governments combat climate change by offering guiding solutions in tandem with the key warnings. Universities need to lead by example in achieving carbon neutrality on campuses, expanding sustainability and global citizenship curricula to empower students, sealing up critical research, mobilizing more resources for innovative solutions to hit national and global climate targets, and helping to build back greener post-COVID-19. Prioritizing such efforts as part of the UN75 activities and ahead of COP26 is both critical and timely. I commend your actions to date, but appeal to you to go even further. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, working alongside with each other in our own societies and across borders in pursuit of the Paris Agreement and Sustainable Development Goals must unite all global citizens, academic institutions, and nations through cooperation and partnership. The recent UN IPCC reports all paint a worrying picture of fast approaching tipping points, unprecedented global heating, seismic biodiversity loss, and existential threats to our oceans if immediate climate action is not taken. The climate crisis is a global challenge, demanding urgent action, innovation, and collaboration. Equity, inclusivity, and solidarity must underpin our collective response. Through your elevated efforts, I am confident that universities will be central in securing a sustainable future for our people and our planet. Let us work together to make this world better and sustainable for all. I thank you for your attention, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Secretary General. When you said a little earlier in your remarks that multilateralism was falling apart, it was a bleak statement, but I think as you went on and showed us that there is hope and that the global academic community and we, the United Nations, working with that academic community, must do more. Perhaps there can still be a rescue of multilateralism as we know it and as we need it. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And you were good enough to mention the Executive Secretary of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, Under Secretary General Ali Jabana. It's now my privilege to invite her to speak.
Thank you very much, Ramu Damodaran. Very good morning from Bangkok. Good evening, New York, as well as good afternoon to the rest of the world. Indeed, it is my privilege to have the opportunity to speak at this event convened by UN Academic Impact on rethinking our planet, role of higher education in combating climate change. As all of you know that especially from the perspective of Asia Pacific, our region, again, in terms of climate change, we account for a little more than half of the green gas emission, the global green gas emission. Indeed, yeah, the high growth of the region economies means that the share will grow unless we enact policies to achieve SDG 13, which is on climate change. Of course, this COVID-19 pandemic has temporarily put a brake on this trajectory, but of course we cannot rely on this temporary respite. We need to have a more systematic and structured action. All stakeholders should contribute. Yeah, so therefore, in terms of response, I'm sure everybody of us, understands that innovation is key, as well as the change in behavior. Again, because this the contribution to this greenhouse gas emissions comes from the way we consume for the consumption side, as well as the way we produce from the production side. Yeah, so this needs to be changed. To change, of course, everybody needs to understand the urgency and the impact of this trajectory of greenhouse gas emission if goes unchecked. Yeah, so therefore there has to be a social change in social norm. Yeah, or change in the behavior, consumption, and production. And with that, again, this concept or the way in the change, by way we consume or produce in a more efficient manner is already there by way of circular economy and resource efficiency. And one of the element of this is among others is energy, because the source of energy and the way we produce consume then is amplify further the impact on climate. So therefore, very important in the case of energy, we also push forward the energy transition forward, to have more and more renewable energy. Third is, within this context, what is the role of higher, I would like to say it higher learning, higher education, because of course university is a major part, but then also think tank, also the contribution from other stakeholders, including CSOs. In terms of the role of higher learning, I see it in three segments. One is, of course, the function or the role in preparing the next generation. I think now, the generation that goes into higher education, I think is already the Z generation. Not so much anymore the millennials. Millennial generation, but the Z generation. So this generation, of course, in itself have its own how do you say it? Yeah, uniqueness characteristics. Yeah, they are more or less, yeah, very, very natural with technology. Yeah. So why I say this? Because one of the key solutions is also innovation relates to technology. Yeah. So how to prepare the next generation through education, which is one of the main function of higher learning or higher education. With that goes the curriculum, the teaching, learning, yeah, and all the environment of the higher learning education. Second is research, yeah, which is the tandem of innovation. You will get innovation if you have the research capacity and the research activity, yeah, that lays the foundation for innovation. Again, to combat climate change, innovation driven by research. Yeah, that higher learning, higher education is, if I may say, the source, yeah, of this research based activity and products. Yeah. And third is, not least important, is community service and advocacy. So not only advocacy to government, to business, to all stakeholders, but also very important community service. Students, lecturers, professors, yeah, if they then can also go down to the community, yeah, and work with the community to provide solution, including the climate change related solution, whether in terms of mitigation as well as adaptation. Yes, so with that, again, I don't go to the specific details. I hope, yeah, today's event can discuss more in terms of the solutions and also ideas, yeah, especially as it relates to higher learning, and all stakeholders join forces together that we can take that forward. Again, thank you very much. I hand over back to Ramu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Undersecretary General. And I should have mentioned what a privilege it is for us to have someone who is actually an academic leader and practitioner in her own right, from your days at the University of Padjadjaran and, of course, with the UN University. I should mention that I had a good friend from your university who then came to the UN and tried very unsuccessfully to try and recreate this tahu bungkeng, the wonderful tofu that you had in Sumedang. But I don't think it was as good as the original. But thank you very much. And I gather you'll be able to stay with us for this. And I'm so honored because we will, I'm sure, amongst our guests, have questions for you. At this point, I'd like to invite my teammate, Lenise Collins, to introduce the survey which we have about the 75th anniversary of the UN, and then take over the program. Lenise?
Thank you so much, Ramu, and welcome to everyone. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And as Ramu has mentioned, the UN75 dialogues that we're holding are really a way for us to hear your thoughts and to understand what it is that are the issues that are of concern to you. So we would be so grateful if you could just take a few moments to fill out the UN75 survey. My colleague Brenda is going to put the link for the survey in the chat box, so you should see it on the right side of your screen. And I'll just take a moment to share with you the survey so that you can see it, you know, for yourself and see how easy it is and how quickly you can fill out the survey. So if you just click on that link, you will be able to see that you can select your language, that you can select to take the survey in a number of different UN languages. And so that it's incredibly easy to do. There are 5 short questions that you can you know, just fill out in terms of what are your priority issues. So please feel free to just take a few moments to fill out that survey. And you can also choose to take it in whatever language is best for you. It doesn't have to be done in English. And we'll just give just a few seconds before we continue with our program. Great. And I think that you can see here now on my screen that the survey is quite short. There in the upper right-hand corner, you have a selection of languages, including in Korean for those who would like to take it in a different language. You can certainly select that. And there are just 5 quick questions to get your thoughts. These responses will be tabulated and will be shared with UN member states at the 75th UN General Assembly in the fall. So the link will remain in the chat box, so feel free to take that survey at any time during the dialogue or after we finish as well. So without further ado, we are so grateful to have joining us supporters, longtime supporters of UNAI. So I would like to introduce Drs. Yoon-hee Hwang, who is the director of the Association of Korean Universities in support of UNAI, and Dr. Duk-soo Seo, who's an assistant professor in the Department of Spatial Environmental Systems Engineering at Hangdong Global University. And I just have to say before I turn it over to Dr. Hwang that Hangdong Global University has been a longtime supporter of UNAI. It serves as the UNAI principal hub for capacity building in higher education and really took the initiative to create the Association of Korean Universities in support of UNAI. So we are incredibly grateful to them for all of their support over the years. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Yoon-hee Hwang.
Good morning and good evening, everybody, depending on where you are. I would like to send all my greetings to our dear friend Ramu Damodaran and to everybody here together with us. Korean Association of Academic Impact in support of UNAI, we are pleased to share how universities are environmentally sustainable today. I and Dr. Seo will be presenting the effort of Korean universities and one of the successful cases, what is universities today. Korean universities are making diverse efforts in becoming more environmentally sustainable. Their initiatives are not limited to the preserving the green buildings. They also include the green management systems in the universities, such as the development of evaluation index and sustainable environment manual, and the promotion of developing green cultures through the cooperation between universities or with government and with local communities as well. Recently, there is one more remarkable initiative. More and more universities are paying a particular attention on doing the research on education and how to train green global citizens as a global leaders, and how to develop curriculums and programs to sustain the long-term vision of sustainable environment. Because of the time limit, now I would like to give my floor to Dr. Seo, who is an expert in the field of environment, for sharing the successful cases in details.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hwang. Hello everyone, my global friends, and also I am Mr. Seo from Hangdong Global University in South Korea. I'm teaching urban planning and design, and also sustainable global development at the moment. Since Kim Young-gil Grade School and Ban Ki-moon Institute of Global Education opened last year in my university, I am actively more involved in the sustainable development in global context. For example, like one of my classes, like our future survival with sustainable development in the interdisciplinary approaches at the local, national, and global dimensions. You can see here like two keywords of big S. Can you imagine that? Big S, survival and sustainable. But actually, like sustainable development has a long kind of history and theory and practices. But do you think that is a completely successful? Well, I don't know. Like, if not, we should more focus on survival development, development for survival. Now, actually, we are experiencing like more kind of survival issues with the virus. So, like, think of, and also like, our Earth has never experienced 8 billion world population before, right? 1 century ago, it was like right? 2 billion now. 1 century later, you will expect the 16 billion. So can you imagine that? Why that kind of world population increase has serious problem? There's a lot of issues: more energy, more food, more agriculture. Like there's a lot of like statistics. Green destroyed the green. So we actually developed too much forest for the agriculture, something like this. So now actually Handong Global University raised this kind of issues seriously, and various also have discussion with the researching global environmental challenges. And we also try to actually create sustainable kind of urban planning and design with the student. And our campus is like a living lab. So we try to apply kind of green campus design with applying kind of ecological urbanism and renewables and energy generation. And also nowadays, like COVID-19 make us enjoy online education right now at the moment. And we seriously have a kind of discussion for post-pandemic urban future. Nowadays, there's a kind of very popular kind of word, 6 feet. 6 feet become a new standard of urban design for our survival issues. 6 feet is kind of minimum social distance, right? So anyway, like I think we have like kind of very big paradigm for the sustainable development or even survival development. So I think this is kind of a big new platform to think about our actually urban future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think those interventions, Dr. Hong and Dr. Seo, those interventions are so important. And what you said about the need to train the next generation of green global citizens, what you're saying about it's not only at this point, it's not just sustainability, it's about survival, that there are new paradigms that we're dealing with, that we have to, teach the next generation of sustainable green developers, because we are now fighting for survival, I think provides a lot of food for thought for us, and actually leads to our next guest. Because in rethinking how we address climate change, one of the aspects that we have to consider is our actual stewardship of natural resources, how we treat the environment, how we sustain the resources that we have. And someone who is actively involved in this work is Dr. Arvind Kumar, who is the president of the India Water Foundation. His foundation is dedicated to advancing the SDGs and educating people about the vital role that water plays in our environment, in our everyday lives, in our economic growth, and the need for our stewardship of this resource, including its management and conservation. So Dr. Kumar, I would like to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Colin. Good morning from India. Good morning from India. Ladies and gentlemen, it is pleasure to join you all on the occasion of World Water and Environment Day. And I am honored to be with experts, professors, dear students, along with the other participants, discussing responsible education for water management 2020 is the super year for nature and biodiversity. And we have our parallel commitment to realize decades of SDGs and ecosystem restoration as well. I'm glad the theme of for this year, World Environment Day, is it's time for nature. So this is also a wake-up call for the global community to take urgent action to combat the acceleration of species loss and environmental degradation, as well as to protect nature and resources. When we talk about water, it is not mere a sector. Rather, it's connector that facilitates interconnectedness and interlinkages with other species like agriculture, industry, energy, infrastructure, environment, health, etc. Water as a connector provides solutions that can support strategies to tackle effectively climate change and facilitate hassle-free adaptation. Water connects policy areas, economic sectors and societies, as well as it is a tool for cooperation and for building trust. I personally feel it is imperative to provide sustainable solution for water problems by changing water management practices and regulatory uses with effective legislation. It can be facilitated by adopting new policies and programs based on the innovative technology and techniques, along with new concepts of cooperation and partnership in tandem with existing concepts approach like IWRM. More focus. It is also worth mentioning here that integrated water source management approach, which has not yet been fully implemented in letter and spirit, need to be supplemented with energy, water, food and access approach, as well as ecosystem-based approach to effectively deal with water-related issues and issues pertaining to climate change. The Nexus approach differ from IWRM. All sectors of development are addressed from water management perspective under the IWRM, whereas the Nexus approach accords equal priority to these issues of water, energy, food. Here, I would like to steer the attention towards northeastern state, basically in India, Meghalaya, which has harnessed energy, water, environment nexus approach as an integral part of sustainable development. It is integral to integrated basin development livelihood program, which was launched with the input from us. The IBDLP program is designed 4 pillars. So for student and our academic staff, colleague, the pillars of knowledge management, natural resource management, entrepreneurship development, and good governance is being implemented in mission mode through over 24 of missions. Every mission is designed to leverage the comparative advantage that Meghalaya has, that sector, and to generate livelihood opportunities for every household to accelerate growth. The Nexus approach, along with the ecosystem implementation with the partnership of India Water Fountain, has yielded salutary result in managing water resource in the sustainable manner and enhance urban resilience to climate change. So we feel that emulating of this model evolved by IWM entail a holistic approach to challenge emanating from water and climate change. This success story can be replicated in other part of the world as well with their specific needs. Prior to launching this model, the deforestation, traditional zoom cultivation, and unscientific extraction of mine, etc., had drastically affecting the hydrologic parameters like rainfall and interception, infiltration, soil moisture, evaporation, groundwater yield, soil loss, floods, etc. They gradually change for the better because mechanism is in place in the form of Jalkund multi-river river to provide water during lean period. So capacity building of tribal hunter population lead to their transformation as entrepreneurs, giving them alternative livelihood option. This Meghalaya approach can be proven to milestone. The same is being customized in another northern state to Sikkim. Everybody heard about the Sikkim's best practices, and also in aspiration districts of India, where our experts here input and disseminate information to the farmers, institution, students, sustainable agriculture techniques like drip irrigation, smart cropping, pattern, organic farming practices, and awareness innovations being a civil society, working as a grassroots level, bridge the various aspirations of the farmers, and as a result, witnessed new movement of farmers who adopted climate smart agriculture practices which help in diverse livelihood through agriculture, allied activities, locally grown organic produce, and enhanced water management system. I call smart farmers. Friends, to strengthen our efforts toward holistic water management, we must involve an integrated approach toward transversal shift, interlinking vertical linkages between water, food, energy nexus with horizontal indicators like health, education, agriculture, uh, gender, etc. In the view of keeping our nature intact, secured wetland is as our natural resources base as a core element of disaster risk reduction and adaptation practices. Wetland biodiversity holds significant because it absorbs carbon dioxide to help slow global heating and reduce pollution, hence have often been referred as to kidneys of the earth. The tradition of indigenous knowledge, nature-based solutions need to be recognized and coupled with modern science-based approach and appropriate technology interventions. We must sustain supply strategies towards act now. The call for adopting green practices, technologies, mechanism of adaptive management, carbon offset, resource efficiency, rewilding, circular economy, polluters pay pencil, and last but not least, community participation and capacity building to raise a dedicated, skilled cadre of community. To conclude, I would say we are at the turning point amidst of COVID-19, and we go back to the business as usual. Instead, we must use this opportunity to transition to a carbon neutral and nature positive global economy. With growing global concern over the biodiversity and climate crisis, the importance of nature-based solutions has been widely recognized. I am affirmative that innovation nature-based solution, if managed sincerely, shall yield fruitful results in long-term, and water education at grassroots and community level shall make the sincere scarcer resource not scarcer. Since our inception, we have espousing Jal Mitra initiative, for which I extend my deep expression to come and join. Thank you, Ms. Colleen.
Dr. Kumar, thank you so much for that intervention. I think there are so many things that you pointed to in terms of the work that your foundation is doing, but also lessons that we can learn, including how do we draw on the indigenous knowledge that is there? How do we go, back to the grassroots level to find things that are work practices that are sustainable, that we can help to amplify among people and all of the stakeholders that you work with. I think that there will be a lot of questions from participants about how we can build on the work that you're doing. I'd like to turn now to a young woman who has been active in activating youth, who has been a supporter of UN academic impact since her college days. Dr. Huang mentioned the need to train the next level of global citizens, the next generation of global citizens. And our next speaker, Ms. Jun Han, is a prime example of that. She is a recent graduate of Handong Global University, where she studied international law and international regional studies. And while a student there, she was an active member of Aspire Korea, which is a youth organization that supports the work of UNAI. She currently volunteers with Green Asia organization, doing outreach and advocacy to reach young people, to empower them to combat climate change and engage students around these issues. So I'd now like to invite Mrs. Jun Han to take the floor.
Hello.
Hi there.
I'm Jun Han. Yeah, I'm going to talk about what I believe is the role of university from my experience as a member of Aspire at Handong University. So I believe that the role of a university is helping students to believe that the change is possible and everyone has the potential to change the future. So university should be where students learn to find specific hope. And they can find hope in combating climate change through 3 steps, I think: connect, collaborate, and change. So the first step, connect, can be accomplished through education. When it comes to climate change, understanding how deeply connected we are with the environment is very important. So we first have to be fully aware of what is going on. So Aspire members gather every week to learn about various topics under global citizenship education. We study different issues regarding SDGs through active discussions and activities. The most important role of global citizenship education is that it teaches us how individuals are interconnected rather than being independent single actors. For example, when we studied about plastic pollution, we realized how the garbage we throw away affects the environment and threatens the lives of marine animals. And when we also talked about sustainable fashion, we realized the way we consume fashion products increases carbon emissions in every product chain. So the more we learn, the more we understand how deeply connected we are. And I was shocked by how human activity contributes to the climate crisis. When we realize how people and nature are intrinsically linked, the connection gives us a sense of responsibility. So with responsibility, we can move to the second step, collaborate. This is where we put our knowledge into action by participating. So within Aspire, members were encouraged to accomplish one mission regarding SDGs every week. We shared ideas and decided on the mission together to have a positive impact on the environment. The mission was not difficult to accomplish. There were simple promises such as using stairs instead of elevators, recycling, reusing, or using our tumbler in cafes. By sharing the completion of missions, we encourage each other to participate further. You know, when learning about a big concept such as climate change can be very overwhelming, it easily makes us feel small and powerless. But the process of collaboration empowers us as important members of the world. So participating in actions benefiting our environment allows us to embrace our social responsibility. Then we can move to the third step, change. So it's about changing myself and fellow students. For change, Aspire encourages and persuades other students to study and act together through on-campus campaigns, forums, and volunteer programs. Like we go through the process of connect, collaborate, to reach the stage of change, we help others to join our process. So first, we aim to induce their interest by providing data and explaining their influence on the issues, and in the end, encourage them to participate in the problem-solving process. For example, when we conducted a campaign regarding water scarcity, we first explained about the topic by introducing countries suffering from water scarcity and the lives of people living there. Then we distribute a written statement suggesting specific things we can do to save water and hosted an online activity to encourage participation. This campaign has significance as it did not just introduce a problem, but also provided an opportunity for participants to follow the ways to solve the problem. So the sharing of knowledge and information solidifies our commitment to climate change, and this is when we experience both internal and external changes. Experiencing connect, collaborate, change in universities will give students much insight and help them to be prepared to solve the problems faced by humanity today. I know that climate change cannot be prevented by the efforts of one country or one person, but it needs an individual who believes in the change to make it happen. Thank you.
June, thank you so much. That is, it's incredibly uplifting and empowering to hear you talk about how you have engaged young people, the work that you all have done to go out in your communities and make a difference and to really activate young folks on campus. At this time, we would like to start our discussion. We have some, amazing panelists who have joined us this evening or this morning, depending on where you are in the world. So please, if you have questions for any of our panelists, you can type them in the chat box and we will go through them and put them to the panelists. So any questions that you have or follow up that you would like to ask our panelists, please feel free to ask. I'd just like to start the conversation with the Executive Secretary, Dr. Alishabana, because your long history in academia, all of your experience, and also with UNESCAP that is doing incredible work addressing climate change in Asia Pacific. You mentioned the need for mitigation and adaptation as sort of this two-pronged approach that we need to take. Can you tell us a little bit about how universities and academia can play a role in helping to develop those kinds of mitigation techniques that you mentioned? Hi, that question was for you, Executive Secretary. I think you're on mute. So if you would just like to maybe expound a little bit on that particular issue. I think she's still with us. But what I will do is go on. I had a question for Dr. Seo about something that you mentioned in green design. And you mentioned green campus design and how the physical design of college campuses can help, contribute to combating climate change. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those ideas and techniques about the physical environment on campus?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. I can start. Actually, I have a sustainable design class, and we have something theoretical approach and the practical approach. We actually seriously discuss, as I mentioned, there's a world population there, right? World population increased so quickly. So what is actually main critical issues? Food. Food is really critical, right? So everybody actually eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And also more people try to eat high quality food and organic food, but some country has there's lack of food, shortage of food, right? So there's something like a unbalanced supply and demand or something like this. However, world population need more kind of a food, how we can actually supply. So usually the reality is we actually have a lot of farming, even in the mountain, we cut a lot of kind of trees there and convert to the something farming, coffee or vegetables, and provide actually worldwide based on the global chain. So that kind of happening actually is a big challenge. So how we can actually figure out this kind of issues. So we thought about something smart city strategy, we need the technology and the innovation. How we can minimize impact on the nature, but we can maximize actually productivity. So technology really actually necessary, that kind of something, sustainable development. I mean a global context. So we actually thought about and the serious discussion and talking about some a vertical farming issues, urban farming issues, how we can start. So we have a campus, we have a kind of garden, how we can actually apply the technology. So we actually, in our campus has some square and the plaza, there is a smart farming box there. So we have something applying the new technology, which is from my side, architecture and urban planning side, also we combine with the IT technology actually. So we have integration studio to actually have experiment, how we can enhance the productivity of food production, but how we can minimize occupying the space. You know what I mean, right? Kind of density, production density is a very critical issue. When world population has more require food, we need the production density is a very critical point. So we are kind of discussing smart agriculture, smart farming technology, especially in terms of a city, not actually nature, because we destroyed too much mountain and field, green field for the farming issues. So I think this is a kind of ongoing actually discussion with the student. Yeah, something like this.
Dr. Seth, thank you so much. I mean, what you're describing there this sort of cross-disciplinary approach where you're talking about architecture, you're talking about design, IT, you know, pulling all of these things together to really have this, you know, integrated approach to, you know, how we live in the world and how we use our physical space, I think is a really interesting, you know, example of what schools have to do. This, you know, it's not just one thing, it's how we do everything.
Right. So actually, like our university, Handong, have a very strong policy, interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary actual approach, because every student should have two major. They can choose any majors when actually come to the university. For example, when they have a thinking about sustainable environmental challenge issues, one actually student choose urban planning and economics, urban planning, IT, and even like one of my students actually choose architecture and psychology. So how space impact human mentality, you know what I mean, right? So we have a collaboration also, like every student has a major, two actually double major, and then they can graduate. Without a double major, they cannot graduate. So we actually destroy the whole actually boundary between the majors, and then they can choose whatever they want. And when so in the freshman first year, they have a very strong and tough education for the how we can approach, find the issues, finding problem, finding issues, and then like they try to actually make a decision. Oh, which major gonna be good combination, and then like a lot of studio actually involved in different background student, and then like we actually figure out smart farming issues or like sea level rise issues, or even now actually we have a serious discussion how post-pandemic urban change or urban issues, and then like some technology actually based approach, and also like a public health approach or urban design approach. So we have like something very multidisciplinary studio for the COVID-19 issues, something like this.
This is fantastic. I wanted to bring in Dr. Huang to talk a little bit about the idea of global citizenship and mainstreaming that into education. And you talked about the growing, the increase in the numbers of schools and departments that were doing that. Could you tell us a little bit about how you all have approached that, and maybe some best practices of mainstreaming global citizenship education so that all students have access to it?
Yes, we have very good examples on this. Recently, we are developing to provide more systematic, closely working with Handong Global University, and we established Ban Ki-moon Institute for Global Education and also Kim Young-gil Grade School. So with the schools and many
Oh, Dr. Huang, I think we have lost you.
Could you hear me?
I can hear you now. There was a moment where I lost you a little bit.
Okay. So to start again, so what we have is with Handong Global University is a curriculum specialized in the global citizenship education, and also its contents include the whole areas which sustainable development goals include, such as economic issue, environment issue, and society issue, and global partnership issues. The content itself include all sectors of the sustainable SDGs. Also, the pedagogy to instill the students to do is not just knowledge transferring, but also is making the student experience a hands-on experience and making a team project. Also, the team project will be linked to the mentor with the local communities or real business companies. That's what we do. And we are providing the curriculum at Handong Global University these days. So that will be maybe 1 years later, that will be a good model how that specialized curriculum, global citizenship education curriculum, can make an effect and influence on students to grow their aspects to analyze the globalizing issues and environmental issues altogether.
That's fantastic. The idea, we are so looking forward to, following up with you on, the ongoing progress that you're making on that, because it's really something that I think a best practice that universities around the world can use. I'd like to turn to Dr. Kumar because you said something very interesting about the need to change policies, to change, water management policies. And so you needed innovation, you need techniques, new techniques to help, research. And what role can universities and researchers and academics play in helping to drive that research to help influence policy?
Well, as I mentioned, that if you talk about water, water means water is a connector. It's not mere a sector. So means there is a lot more need to be actually analyze the policies of the water. Means most of the people understand that the water supply policies means water policy. Water policy means where the water come from and how the water affects the climate change, how the water affect the life and livelihoods of the people. And if you talk about India and countries like India, where actually the flood and drought are the regular practice. So we have to think more about the water world, means their role and their connection with other sectors too. So there is there is need of a well-placed policy as well. So in Meghalaya, India Water Foundation actually, as a part of the Chief Minister Council as well, we actually initiated a policy. This is called integrated kind of a policy, where we have to integrate all the efforts, and where we have to integrate and understand what is the actual need of a policy, means where the water come from, where it is utilized, and whether you also enclose or interact or maybe partner the various institutions. In Meghalaya, I talk about Meghalaya because I'm working more than a decade, that we encourage all the stakeholders, institutions to be partner with creating this policy, so that actually the policies should be like that. It can help to people get the water, people have to fight the ongoing problem of climate change and other. So in my opinion, we engaged the institutions as well, because institutions have the strength and they have a huge capacity to understand what is the ongoing problem and how can the technology can be a part of it, and technology as a solution as well. I'm just giving an example. We give some capacity building exercise in 20 states of the country about the hydrogeomorphology. So how can you understand where is the water, what kind of a quality of a water, and how can you utilize? So definitely there is role of various stakeholders, including agencies, international organizations, and institutional academia and as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar. And I think your point about, it's a connector, it's not a sector, it's about livelihoods, it's about, the way that people live, and it impacts every sector of life. So all of these stakeholders have to be involved. Jun Han, if you're still with us, there's a question for you. from one of the participants. Katerina Altman wanted to know if you could share a little bit more on your framework of connect, collaborate, and change. What are maybe some other actions? Are there sub-actions there that would be important to follow and need to be promoted? And another question that I have for you, June, would also be, how do you see what you've learned as a global citizen? How do you plan to apply that in your professional life now that you have finished school?
So we are trying to deal with many topics under SDGs. So there is another example. One time we did this campaign regarding endangered animals. So like the same process, we explained to people how these animals became endangered. And this time we prepared souvenirs to sell to those participants of the campaign. And for the profit, all the profits were donated to WWF. So we informed them and telling them that you are actually giving an impact on the world by donating. So there are several ways that we can make them to participate with us together. And for the next question, I'm now volunteering at an NGO, environmental NGO called Green Asia, which deals with desertification and drought issues in Mongolia. So I think I have to gain some practical experience on the environmental field. And then I wish to study more about environmental policies when it comes to desertification and drought. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We have a question from Ajumani from Ivory Coast, who would like to know if there's a platform to connect universities around the world which are advocating and promoting combating climate change to make a bigger impact on the world. And so, Ajumani, I would like to invite you to check out our website at academicimpact.un.org. UNAI is committed to connecting universities around the world. One of our partners, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, also does a lot of work of providing curricula and connecting universities. We will add those links for you in the chat box for your reference, but definitely visit our website at academicimpact.un.org. That's why we exist, to help connect universities, to help connect students, and to help empower them to make a difference. So with that, that's all the time we have for our moderated discussion. I'd like to thank you all. And before we wrap up, I would like to turn it over to the Chief of Academic Impact, Ramu Damodaran, for some final thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lanice, and thank you for all of you who've been with us. It's been, for me personally, an extremely stimulating discussion, listening to the presentations and the reactions to them. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, of course, in a sense, threw the gauntlet down for us by saying, we, the academic community, or those of us like Lanice, Omar, Bo, Brenda, Dari, and Tarita who've been working on this program, those of us who are working with the academic community, all of us have a sense of pride in what we're doing, but as he cautioned us, there is much more to be done. And I think that also came through from the distinguished Executive Secretary, Ms. Ali Jabana, where she spoke about the necessity for students and academicians to have what she called community involvement. So in other words, it's not just about being within the space of a university, idyllic though that is, especially if, as Dr. Daxio said, you're doing a double major, that can be really quite exhilarating. But you have to go beyond that. And I think the last question we had from our friend in the Ivory Coast really pointed to that very well, because if universities are going to be socially conscious and responsible for issues like climate change, then they have to work with the communities in which they are. And this is the point that Yoon-hee brought so vividly, when she talks about global citizenship education, not as something which is remote or which is something which is transcendent, but which really occurs at the very fundamental local level, where you begin to bring your global convictions into local practices. Dr. Daxio also spoke about what we're beginning to live with, the new 6-foot rule, the fact that everything is going to be designed around these 6 feet, which are going to separate people from each other. And Ms. Han, our wonderful young participant, began by talking about how interconnected we are. And yet we are striving to be interconnected in a world where we must be physically apart. Dr. Arvind Kumar, and I was very grateful for the references that he brought the specificity of a major issue, water, to the climate debate, but not just water, to what he called to being nature positive, which I think is a wonderful phrase at this time when the word positive has so many negative overtones. And also his reference, I think, to smart farmers. So how do you get smart farmers? You get smart farmers through education, formal, non-formal, conventional, non-conventional, intuitive. But ultimately, and I think this is the point that Lenice made just now very, very eloquently, is that we in the academic impact really exist for these 2 reasons. One, to bring together this network in support of the United Nations. And secondly, as in a sense our theme is, to defend the exercise of intellectual social responsibility. Because if you are blessed with an intellect, and more important, if you're blessed with the opportunity to use that intellect in a university, if you're given the blessing of higher education, then we really have to go that extra step and do what all our panelists have suggested: work, work, work for ourselves and through ourselves, the communities we serve, and ultimately the largest community of all, this planet of 8 billion, who are at this very moment imperiled by twin crises. One immediate and devastating, the pandemic. The other remote but devastating, climate change. So thank you for being with us. Please do go to the website that Lenice mentioned, and I think we'll put that in the chat box, and have a look at our upcoming webinars. Not all of them will be convenient to all of you in our various time zones, but we will have recordings of those also available, and it will be wonderful to see you there. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful Environment Day. Good night or good day.